Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we will discuss about the first lesson of your textbook Flamingo, that is the last lesson by Alphonse Daudet. Let us have a look at the life history of the writer, the background of the chapter, important characters, and then we will discuss about the various themes that have been discussed in the chapter for today's video. Alphonse Daudet was a French short story writer and a novelist. He is chiefly known for his sentimental tales of provincial life in the south of France. The background of this chapter is the Franco-Prussian War of 1870 to 71. Under the rulership of Napoleon, the war was Napoleon III. The war was fought with Prussia. The Prussian army was led by Bismarck. Prussia was earlier a group of countries. These are Germany, Poland, and some part of Austria, which are nowadays. In that war, Alsace and Lorraine, two districts of France, were conquered by Prussian army, and the rule of Prussian army was established there, along with the imposition of German language. The language which was earlier taught in the schools of these two districts, Alsace and Lorraine, was French language. But after the acquisition of those areas by the Prussian army, the language of the people was replaced by the German language. In this chapter, we will encounter two main characters. These are, one of them is the student Little Franz. He is the narrator of the story. Narrator means who is telling the whole story, and we will get to know the incidents from his point of view. What he says, what he has observed, what is his point of view to look at the incidents we are to discuss here. The second important character is the teacher, Mr. Hamel. This M is the abbreviation, short form of Monsieur. M-O-N-S-I-E-R. Monsieur. Monsieur is the equivalent of Mr. in English, which we use Mr. For the same purpose, the French people use Monsieur, and the abbreviation of Monsieur is M. So this M only has been used here. So now let us discuss the theme of the chapter. The theme of the chapter is patriotism, love for the mother language, language chauvinism. Then some subsequent themes are also discussed in the chapter, that is changing in the attitude of people towards the education setup, towards the learning of their own mother tongue, French language. That is, the environment of the whole chapter is distressed, gloomy, and sad, because the areas have been conquered by the army, and now the people are to leave their mother tongue, and they have been forced to learn the foreign language, German language. Teacher will come from Prussia, and he will teach them the German language the day onwards. We have discussed this last point. With the perspective of Little French, we are to discuss this whole chapter because because the character of Little Friends is the narrator. He is narrating the whole story to us. Patriotism is the main theme. Patriotism is the main theme. The teacher, Mr. Hamel, tried his level best to establish the supremacy of French language so that the freedom of the people and freedom of his country may be established. Even he goes to the extent of saying that people who are having their own language with them could not be enslaved as long as they stood fast to their mother tongue. Language chauvinism is a complex idea. Language chauvinism is actually thinking that your own language, your own nation is most superior to the others, and thinking that others are inferior as well. So that theme of language chauvinism has also been discussed in this chapter. We will discuss now the original text of the chapter, which is given in your textbook. Some important meanings will be there. You should get to know to the actual meaning of the words, contextual meaning. Friends, this is the map of France during the Franco-Prussian War. Here you will notice that the districts of France, Alsace and Lorraine have been depicted in the map. Here you will find that Germany is mentioned. Earlier it was Prussia. It was Prussia. Prussia means nowadays Prussia has been divided after First World War. Prussia was nowadays, which is Germany, Poland and some part of Austria. These three was a nation, and its capital was Berlin. The national language was German language. So they conquered this area and replaced the language of people in the schools with German language. Earlier, the language of the people in this area was French language. So let us now read the chapter. This is the text of this chapter. The chapter starts with the depiction of attitude of the narrator that he is not willing to go to school as he has not prepared his lesson on participles. His teacher M. Himmel has given him a lesson on participles. It is a part of grammar, and he has not prepared this lesson. Surely questions will be asked by the teacher in the class, and he is trying to avoid school, bunk his school today. He is willing to go to see the Prussian soldiers drilling and passing the time outside the school. Later on his attitude will change, certainly. We will notice there. So the chapter reads like this. I started for school very late that morning and was in great dread of a scolding, especially because M. Himmel had said that he would question us on participles. Dread of, fear of. Fear of a scolding from the teacher because he has not prepared his lesson, and I did not know the first word about them. For a moment I thought of running away and spending the day out of doors. It was so warm, so bright. The birds were chirping at the edge of the woods, and in the open field back of the sawmill the Prussian soldiers were drilling. It was all much more tempting than the rule for participles. but I had the strength to resist and hurried off to school. The student, the narrator, says that he has not prepared his lesson on participles, and on the other hand, the day was warm and bright. Birds were chirping, and the soldiers were drilling in the open field in the backyard of a sawmill. This is very much tempting them. Tempting means attractive than the rule for participles. But I had strength to resist, but he resisted, stopped himself, and hurried off to school. When I passed the town hall is a kind of building that is made for officials to sit there and take decisions. After that, those decisions will be later on conveyed to the people through a notice board. When I passed the town hall, there was a crowd in front of the bulletin board, because earlier such kind of facilities of getting news like internet or the news channels was not there. For the last 2 years, all the bad news had come. Only bad news is coming from this bulletin board. The lost battles, the draft, the orders of the commanding officer. And I thought to myself without stopping, what can be the matter now? Draft means the orders of the army. What can be the matter now? The narrator is thinking that there is a crowd, people are watching towards the bulletin board, they are reading from the bulletin board. Some bad news must be there, because from last 2 years only bad news has come from this bulletin board. Then, as I hurried by as fast as I could go, the blacksmith watcher who was there with his apprentice reading the bulletin called after me, "Don't go so fast, bub. You will get to your school in plenty of time." Then a person whose name is Watcher, he is a blacksmith. He asked the narrator that he need not to go so fast. He is having a plenty of time to reach the school after reading the bulletin board, because there is a news. Apprentice means a person who is under training to learn some skill. I thought he was making fun of me and reached M. Hammer's little garden out of breath. I was taking deep breath because the narrator was running before that. Usually when school began, now the scene is changing. Now the narrator, the student, little friends, has reached the school. Usually, what is the condition of the school we will discuss first. Then today's condition of school, that also we will discuss. Usually when school began, there was a great bustle which could be heard out in the street, the opening and closing of desks, lesson repeated in unison, very loud, with our hands over our ears to understand better, and the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. Such kind of noises were in the school usually. Which kind of noises? Opening and closing of desk, when students are adjusting themselves in the desk. Lessons repeated in unison, unanimous repetition, when in the junior classes, especially when we are to learn the tables or the alphabets, all the students repeat the lesson before the monitor or the teacher. They are speaking very loud, so the others are to cover their ears by hands to understand better. And the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. Great ruler. maybe, and in those days, teacher may have been given such kind of permission to use rulers, but nowadays it is punishable. And the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. But now it was all so still. But today the scene is quite different from the usual days. Usual days there is a great hustle and bustle in the school, but now today it is just like Sunday morning. On Sundays it is holiday in schools, so it is so still. But now it was also still. I had counted on commotion. The student always dependent on the commotion to get to my desk without being seen. He was dependent on the commotion, the noise which is created by the activities. So he was dependent on the noise made by others to get to his desk without being seen. But of course, that day everything had to be as quiet as Sunday morning. Through the window I saw my classmates already in their places. Classmates were already there, and M. Himmel walking up and down with his terrible iron ruler under his arm. Teacher is also present there. He is walking up and down from the front side to the last bench, and then again back from the last bench to the front. That is called up and down. I had to open the door and go in before everybody. You can imagine how blushed and how frightened I was. I was frightened, blushed, embarrassed. I was embarrassed, ashamed to go before everybody because he was already late. The lesson is just to start. The teacher was just to start the lesson, and he is late. But nothing happened. But actually, nothing happened. Mr. Himmel saw me and said, very kindly, go to your place quickly. Little friends, we were beginning without you. I jumped over the bench and sat down at my desk. Not till then, when I had got a little over my fright, did I see that our teacher had on his beautiful green coat, his frilled shirt, and the little black silk cap all embroidered that he never wore except on inspection and prize days. To make this day a special day, the teacher was wearing his best dress, which he wears only on inspection days or some prize days. To make this day a special one, he is wearing this dress. So the student noticed that the teacher is wearing his best dress, but he didn't know the matter actually. Beside, the whole school seemed so strange and solemn. But the thing that surprised me most was to see on the back benches that were always empty the village people sitting quietly like ourselves. Along with the students, village people were also there in the class. They were also attending the class today. Something special is going to happen. The narrator is giving us the signals that some important activity, some important announcement will be there by the teacher now. Quietly like ourselves, old Hauser with his three-cornered hat, the former mayor, the former postmaster, and several others besides. Everybody looked sad. The environment of the class is sad. And Hauser had brought an old primer. Primer is the book of primary classes to learn the alphabets of some language. thumbed at the edges, which is worn from the corners after a long use. Thumbed at the edges, and he held it open on his knees with his great spectacles lying across the pages. He is reading the pages of the book which he had brought with him. So the villagers, prominent members of the village, they were also sitting there, they were also attending the class. While I was wondering about it all, M. Himal mounted his chair and in the same grave, serious, and gentle tone which he had used to me, said, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. The order has come from Berlin." Berlin was then the capital of Prussia. Berlin, to teach only German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. The new master comes tomorrow. This is your last French lesson. I want you to be very attentive. The teacher is so courageous that he wants to give his full knowledge to the students up to the last moment he could. So he is requesting all present to be very attentive. The new teacher is coming by the next day, and German language will be taught in the school. This is the orders from Berlin. What a thunderclap these words to me. All these words of the teacher was just like a thunderclap, was shocking for the student. Oh, the wretches, the bad people. That was what they had put up at the town hall. This was the news at the town hall. My last French lesson. Why, I hardly knew how to write. I should never learn any more. I must stop here then. Oh, how sorry I was for not learning my lessons, for seeking birds' eggs or going sliding on the Saar. My books that had seemed such a nuisance a while ago, so heavy to carry, my grammar and my history of the saints were old friends now that I couldn't give up. Now the attitude of the student is changing just with a word. Earlier we discussed in the very opening passage of this chapter that the student is not willing to go to school because he is afraid of his teacher, because as he has not prepared his lesson. But now in a sudden, his books are his old friends, his attitude towards his teacher is changing, and he is thinking that he should have learned his language earlier. That I couldn't give up. And M. Himmel too. The idea that he was going away. Earlier, Mr. M. Himmel was so fearful a person for him, but now his attitude towards his teacher also changing. That I should never see him again made me forget all about his ruler and how cranky he was. Cranky, cynic, and how cranky he was. Poor man. It was in honor of this last lesson that he had put on his fine Sunday clothes, and now I understood why the old men of the village were sitting there in the back of the room. It was because they were sorry too, they were regretful, they were feeling sorry that they had not gone to school more. It was their way of thanking our master for his 40 years of faithful service and of showing their respect for the country that had theirs no more. Friends, look at this attitude of the student and the villagers as well. Villagers are feeling sorry that they have not given proper time to learn their own language. Student, he is showing his regret that he should have learnt his lessons, he should have given more attention to his teacher, but now the time is no more now, so he cannot learn his own mother tongue anymore. German will be the language which will be taught in the schools the day onwards. While I was thinking of all this, I heard my name called. It was my turn to recite. Now the class has started and the student has been asked to tell what he is to tell, the rules for participles. What would I not have given to be able to say that dreadful rule for the participle all through, very loud and clear and without one mistake. But I got mixed up on the first words. And stood there, holding on to my desk, my heart beating and not daring to look up. He is ashamed that he has not prepared his lesson. He is standing there and he is waiting that the teacher will certainly scold him, but this did not happen. I heard M. Himmel say to me, I won't scold you, little friends. You must feel bad enough. See how it is. See how it is. Every day we have said to ourselves, bah, I have plenty of time. I will learn it tomorrow. And now you see where you have come out. Now the situations have changed. The language, their mother tongue, will be replaced by German language. That is the great trouble with Alsace. She puts off learning till tomorrow. Now those fellow out there will have the right to say to you, how is it you pretend to be Frenchmen and yet you can neither speak nor write your own language? But you are not the worst, poor little friends. We have all a great deal to reproach ourselves with. The teacher tries to make the students learn this thing that they should respect the time, learn the things with the proper time. But now the ruler have changed. Germany, or you can say Prussian rulers, they are imposing German language in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. Now the teacher is trying to show that mother tongue is very important for a nation to remain, to sustain its independency, its freedom. So he is now presenting the concept that who is to be made responsible for this situation of not learning the French language. So now the teacher says, your parents were not anxious enough to have you learn. They preferred to put you to work on a farm or at the mills so as to have a little more money. First responsibility is of the parents, that they should have sent the children to schools to learn their language, but they didn't. They sent them to work, they sent them to mills or the farms. Second responsibility is of the teacher. I have been to blame also. Had I not often sent you to water my flowers instead of learning your lessons? And when I wanted to go fishing, did I not just give you a holiday? He declared holiday in school when he used to go for fishing. And the other thing, when students came to school, he made them busy to water the plants. This is the responsibility of the teacher and the parents both, that they should give proper time, proper chance to their children to acquire their mother tongue at least. Then from one thing to other, M. Himmel went on to talk of the French language, saying that it was the most beautiful. Now he is proving the supremacy of his mother tongue, saying that the French language is the most beautiful language in the world, the most logical, the clearest, and we must guard it among us. Why should we guard it? Because when a people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. Nobody can make them enslaved. Nobody can imprison you if you are having your mother tongue with you. Then he opened a grammar and read us our lesson. I was amazed to see how well I understood it. All he said seemed so easy, I think, too, that I had never listened so carefully. The important thing is attentiveness of the student in the class. Today, little French is very attentive in the class, so he is learning his lesson very well. And that he had never explained, or it may have been that the teacher was not serious enough to deliver his lesson perfectly. He had never explained everything with so much patience. It seemed almost as if the poor man wanted to give us all he knew before going away. The teacher wants that he must convey the knowledge, he must depart the knowledge to the students, whichever he is having. But time is very short now, and to put it all into our heads at one stroke. After the grammar, we had a lesson in writing. That day, M. Himmel had new copies for us, written in a beautiful round hand, France Alsace, France Alsace, to show a patriotic feeling towards his nation, France, towards his district area, France Alsace, has been written on the copies. They look like little flags floating everywhere in the schoolroom, hung from the rod at the top of our desk. You ought to have seen how everyone set to work. Everybody is busy in doing the task which is given by the teacher in the class. The only sound was scratching of paper over the paper, pens over the paper. Once some beetles flew in, but nobody paid any attention to them, not even the littlest ones. Nobody paid attention even to the sound of the beetle that was there in the room, who worked right on tracing their fish hooks, as if it was as if that was French too. It was just like they were trying to fish their mother tongue. On the roof, the pigeons cooed very low, and I thought to myself, will they make them sing in German? Even the pigeons? This is the sarcastic remark by the author that you cannot change the mother tongue of a person. Whenever I looked up from my writing, I saw M. Himmel sitting motionless in his chair and gazing first at one thing then at another, as if he wanted to fix in his mind just how everything looked in that little school room. He is trying to fix everything in his eyes because he is to leave this school now. Fancy, dream, dissolve, dream, fancy. For 40 years he had been there in the same place with his garden outside the window and in his class in front of him, just like that. Only the desks and benches had been worn smooth. The walnut trees in the garden, which was planted years before, are taller now, were taller, and the hope vine that had planted himself twined about the windows to the roof. How it must have been, how it must have broken his heart to leave it all. It is very much distressing for the teacher to leave all these things behind. Now he is to leave ultimately. Poor man, to hear his sister moving about in the room above, packing their trunks, for they must leave the country next day. His luggage is getting packed because they are to leave the country by next morning. But he had the courage to hear every lesson to the very last. After the writing, we had a lesson in history. Then the babies chanted their ba, be, bi, bo, bu, means use of vowels with the consonants a, e, I, o, u. Down there at the back of the room, old Hauser had put on his spectacles and holding his primer in his both hands, spelled the letters with them. You could see that he too was crying. His voice trembled with emotion. Everybody is emotional there. The environment of the class is very sad for leaving their language. And it was so funny to hear him that we all wanted to laugh and cry. How well I remember it, that last lesson. The student says that he remembers everything of that lesson. All at once the church clock struck 12, then the Angelus. At the same moment, the trumpets of the Prussian returning from drill sounded under our windows, and the teacher M. Himmel stood up very pale. He's in anger, very pale in his chair. I never saw him look so tall. My friends, said he, I, but something choked him. He couldn't speak further, and he was choked. Then he turned to the blackboard, took a piece of chalk, and bearing on with all his might, he wrote as large as he could the national slogan of France, that is, Vive la France, long live France. Then he stopped and leaned his head against the wall, and without a word, he made a gesture to us with his hand. School is dismissed. You may go. So ultimately, the last lesson was dismissed at 12. This is all about the text, friends. In the next video, we will discuss the questions that had appeared in between the text on page number 7, question number 1, 2 and 3, and on page number 8, question number 1 and 2. So with this, I am concluding my session for today. Thank you, friends. Thank you for being with me. Please like, share and subscribe my videos, and press the bell icon for notifications of next videos. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.